Greetings, everyone. Well, in the North American market, we didn't get a lot of TV shows on Laserdisc, but the few we got tended to be pretty darn good ones. And today I'd like to talk about one of those collections that I happen to have. Now, in Japan, Laserdisc was huge, and in Japan, it wasn't uncommon to see complete season sets, or, more often half-season sets. So you get like one season across two massive box sets of American TV shows. And the cool thing about that was they weren't dubbed or anything, so they were in their original English, and they just had Japanese subtitles. So if you didn't mind the subtitles, you could import a lot of these from some of the mail order places and local dealers and whatnot, and actually get these season sets of current or past TV shows. And there was a lot of them. I remember getting some catalogs back in the day, some of the mail order catalogs for Laserdisc dealers, and I was just stunned by how many sets of things were available, like season sets of things. I mean, you gotta understand, this is like 10, 15 years before DVD even came around, let alone TV shows being released in their entirety in season sets. I mean, now, of course, it's commonplace. I mean, often we get season sets of a show up for pre-order on Amazon before it's even aired, I mean, it's crazy how easily accessible TV shows are in high-quality formats. And we can get them in high definition now, too, which is great. But back then, in the days of Laserdisc and VHS, such things were rare. At most, you would often get like a best-of compilation of something, but it was pretty rare to get a complete series or a complete season or anything like that. So whenever they would release a complete set of something, it was a real treat, especially for TV show fans like me. So today we're going to talk about one of my all-time favorites, a set that I went to great lengths to get the complete collection of, and still keep to this day, even if it's only as a memento. But I am, of course, talking about the classic 60s spy and social commentary and just psychological, mind-twisting journey of doom, what many people say is one of the greatest television series ever made. Patrick McGoohan in The Prisoner. And that's what we're going to talk about today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. So, The Prisoner. I've talked about The Prisoner before. I did a Blu-ray update many moons ago when I got the series on Blu-ray, and I talked a lot about what the show was about and things like that in that. So if you want to go see that video, I'll put a link down in the description there for you so you can check that out. Now, as for the Laserdiscs, I actually bought the first volume in a couple of forms on Laserdisc. There was an earlier release which just had the first two episodes on it, Arrival and the Chimes of Big Ben, respectively. And it was pretty cool, but the print that was used for that particular release was in pretty rough shape. So I wanted to get this release, which was a more recent one. Yeah, this was a release from 1998, so DVD had already debuted. So this is almost like one of the last generation Laserdiscs. We're getting really close to the end of the Laserdisc era here. So it was a big deal for a complete series like this to be released on Laserdisc to begin with, let alone so late in the history of Laserdisc. And at the time, there was no DVD release on the horizon. I remember being in the local video retailer, and one of the customers was asking the clerk there if there was any word of The Prisoner coming out on DVD. Now, it had been released on VHS before as well, but this was the first time that the entire series had been released on Laserdisc. There's 9 volumes total. There were 17 episodes grand total in the series. So I overheard this conversation between the customer and the clerk, and he said, "No, I wish. I mean, there's no word on it coming out on DVD." Now, this was still when I hated DVD, and I just wanted it to die so that Laserdisc could, get its time in the spotlight like I always felt it deserved. So I just kind of, piped up in the conversation and said, "Well, actually, they just recently released the entire series on Laserdisc." And the customer just kind of laughed at that and said something to the effect of, "Kind of odd that they would only release it on an obsolete format." resisted the urge to kill him. Now granted, this was, I believe, 2001 when I actually picked these up. They were already a few years old. I was still in denial, man. As far as I was concerned, Laserdisc was not obsolete. They were still making them, I think. Actually, no, I don't think they were by that point. But I wanted to believe that they would. Yeah, us laser fans didn't give up easy, that's for sure. Alright, so what do we got here? So we got The Prisoner on Laserdisc. Now the beautiful thing about this set is this was done from a set of fully restored prints. They had gone back to the original elements and done a beautiful restoration. For a long time, this was the best quality you could get The Prisoner in. And there you go. And they have pretty meaty descriptions of each episode, and each episode is chapter coded. So again, CLV discs. The show was an hour-long show, 50 minutes or so without commercials. So there's 2 episodes per disc. So there we go. And then we got Volume 2. You may notice they basically just cheaped out on the covers, unfortunately, and just did basically the same cover design for each one. Well, the front cover anyway. The back covers have, of course, pictures from the episodes. But the front covers are the same, just with a different color scheme. And there's Volume 3, and pretty cool. And this was put out by Image Entertainment. Now, Image Entertainment is still considered pretty high on the totem pole as far as offering quality products. You can buy their DVDs, Laserdiscs, Blu-rays, whatever, and always be assured that you will get quality. Image has always been one of the best, one of the reliable ones. Them and Criterion and stuff like that. Pioneer was another one, of course. Pioneer was like a huge manufacturer of Laserdisc hardware. Oh, wait a minute, we're getting mixed up here. Volume 6. Now you may notice here, Volume 6 is actually in matte finish. See? It's not glossy like the other ones. It's very odd. This is the only volume out of all 9 that is matte finish. See? Now we're back to glossy. I don't know how well that shows up there. I'm trying to sort of get the... Well, you can see how the reflection is more reflective there and less diffused than it is on the matte finish. So anyway, yeah, I don't know why that is. It's like all of them are glossy except for Volume 6. I don't know if that's an indication of different printings or if it's just somebody wasn't paying attention. I don't know. So then finally we get to Volume 9 here. It's showing off all the beautiful artwork. This is one of the nice things about Laserdisc, of course. You get these huge sleeves with beautiful artwork. A lot of fans of records will tell you the same thing, and they hated CDs. I know a lot of people talk about the records having better bass response than CDs and such, and just not liking the sound of digital. I don't know, I can't really hear a big difference, but I'm not an audiophile. But one of the things they also complained about was the artwork, how you get huge artwork, and they talked about how, well, with CDs, those dinky little covers, you need a magnifying glass to see any details. Yeah, well, I gotta concur, at least on that point, that in terms of artwork, bigger is better. So this is pretty cool. Now, of course, being an uneven number of episodes, they needed something to fill up side 2. So there was a documentary done a number of years ago for the VHS collection entitled The Prisoner Video Companion. And the Prisoner Video Companion is basically sort of a little behind the scenes, well, not even really behind the scenes, it's kind of a retrospective of the series and talks about some of the symbolism and metaphor and allegory and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool. Honestly, I found it kind of a lackluster documentary. I thought they really could have gone into a lot more depth than they did, considering how much depth there is in the series to begin with. But what can I tell you? Now, some of you may be wondering, hey, Sean, how come you never picked up the DVDs? Because you may be aware, A&E Home Entertainment did eventually put out a complete series collection of The Prisoner. They did individual sets first that had 3 or 4 episodes per set, and then they put them all out in a mega set, and then they re-released it again as a slimline set. But it was all the same master files used for all of them. It was just different packaging and different, artwork and stuff on the cases. Well, the main reason I didn't was because when it first came out, I heard that there was some problems with the audio on some of the episodes, and there was some other minor technical issues that made them less than perfect. And from my understanding, they used the exact same prints that they used for the Laserdisc edition, so I wasn't going to be getting any improvement in picture or sound quality. I mean, to A&E's credit, they did put very few episodes per disc, so they could max out the bitrate, and apparently in terms of picture quality, it's actually pretty decent. but I figured, why would I want to take the chance of having it slightly pixelated or whatever when I already have the exact same set on Laserdisc in absolutely perfect, pristine, time-based corrected analog video, you know? So there really just didn't seem to be much incentive for me to buy the DVD set, because I figured I'm just going to be getting what I already have in different packaging and possibly lower quality, and with apparently some audio issues on a few episodes. So yeah, there was a few extras on there that weren't on this set, but it really wasn't enough to make it worthwhile for me. The other thing that they did not include on the Laserdisc edition, but I think was included on some of the DVD editions, was there was an alternate cut of one episode released, specifically the second episode, the Chimes of Big Ben, that was often referred to as the Lost episode. Now, it didn't appear on the Laserdiscs, but it was on the old VHS releases. Now, obviously, I wanted to have the complete collection of stuff, so I tracked down the old VHS tape. So there we go. We have the Chimes of Big Ben alternate version, the Lost episode. So what's the difference here? The alternate version of Chimes of Big Ben. Now, you don't need to track down the VHS tape to see this anymore. It is on at least some of the DVD sets, and it is also on the new Blu-ray set. So what are some of the differences? Different theme music, different background music, additional scenes, alternate takes, additional dialogue. Number 6 uses an ancient Greek triquetrum to try to geographically locate the village, and a closing credits explanation of the symbolic penny farthing bicycle. So there's quite a lot of significant differences in this. Now, the print for the alternate Chimes of Big Ben is in pretty rough shape, and it doesn't look like they've done any restoration on it, even for the Blu-ray edition. But it is nice to at least have it all collected together. Speaking of the Blu-ray edition, that of course is what I have now. Now that said, will I be getting rid of my Laserdiscs? No. Why? Because I'm absolutely obsessed with this show, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, what does this have? Yeah, this does have the alternate Chimes of Big Ben episode, and it has some other stuff too. It has some quite a lot of documentaries actually, and a promo for the absolutely horrible remake series that was done a couple years ago. God, that was awful. Ian McKellen was a great choice for number 2, but yeah. You notice I'm saying a lot of things in this under the assumption that you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to be giving a lot of back explanation in this because I've talked about The Prisoner at great length before. And we'll probably do so again because it's a great show that is just one of those things you can talk about endlessly. I mean, hell, fans still talk about it and debate about it some 40 plus years after it originally aired. So anyway, you got the Laserdiscs, you got the alternate episode, and you got the Blu-ray set. Definitely pick up the Blu-ray set if you're interested in the show. I mean, this is the best it's ever looked. You know, as much of a revelation as the Laserdiscs were for the cleaned up prints at the time, the Blu-ray was a whole new revelation on top of that. So it's now we have these beautiful clean prints in high definition. So, very nice indeed. I should mention, actually, I was mentioning the covers. I remember looking at seeing the VHS set, and it was a VHS set I had planned to pick up for a long time, but just never got around to until eventually I got the Laserdiscs. The VHS set did the same thing that they did with the Laserdiscs, where, see this cover here? Yeah. All 18 volumes of The Prisoner, they did one episode per tape on VHS, had the same cover design just with different colors. So very much like the Laserdisc edition. And I think that's about all I can say about The Prisoner on Laserdisc. It's awesome, and I love it, and I will never get rid of it. And as for The Prisoner in general, it's awesome, and I think it's one of those things that no matter how tough things may get financially from time to time, it's a set that I will never get rid of, because it's just one of those, I mean, being only 17 episodes, it's just one of those shows I can rewatch over and over again and find something new in it every time. Well, all you Firefly fans out there know what I'm talking about with that. I mean, I'm sure you've rewatched Firefly a gazillion times, and yeah, well, for us Prisoner fans, it's the same thing with The Prisoner. It's like it's just one of those shows you can happily revisit time and again, and it's like visiting an old friend, but each time you revisit that old friend, they dig out a fresh skeleton from their closet and share it with you. You know, that's kind of what The Prisoner's like. Every time you watch it, you peel back another layer of the onion and see something that you didn't see before. Definitely benefits from multiple viewings. Alrighty, well, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed. So until next time, when we'll talk about some other Laserdiscs, I'm not going to tell you. You'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching, and sayonara. You could import a lot of these from some of the local and let alone TV. So, The Prisoner. Now, I've talked about The Prisoner before when so I just kind of cut in and I said, and the customer just kind of laughed and said, why would they release it? Or no. And the customer just kind of laughed at that and said, so they just see this cover? See this cover here? Well, all you Firefly